Many of the things we do in relationships are actually done just out of habits. We have feelings, thoughts, emotions, actions, ways of interacting with the opposite sex that we're just on autopilot. Now, if some of these habits are not healthy, that they're actually keeping you single, then it's going to feel like you're just single for no reason, but perhaps some of these hidden habits in your life are the root cause. So here are 8 types of habits you really want to avoid in relationships because they're going to keep you lonely. Number 1, putting others first who put you last. Self-sacrifice is certainly biblical, but when you read it in context in scripture, it's always mutual self-sacrifice. One person isn't supposed to always be putting the other person first. Rather, both couples or both people in the relationship should be putting each other first. It's my responsibility to put my wife first. I can't make her serve me, but God works on her heart in her relationship to me, and a healthy relationship should be this mutual edification. So if you get in the habit of overly focusing on just yourself and not looking at what other people are also called to do, then you could be in this habit of just always giving and never receiving. Number 2, following the crowd. There's just something in us that feels safer in a group. When a large group of people is going that way and you're going that way, it triggers just this warning in us, hey, maybe I'm doing something wrong. I feel better going that way. But as Christians, this is a very bad idea when it comes to relationships because everyone around you in the world is not going to be living for Christ like we want to be living for Christ. They're going to be sleeping with their boyfriend or girlfriend. They're going to be jumping from relationship to relationship for immature reasons. They're going to just be practicing this worldly type of relationship dating. And if you follow that and you make it your habit just to do what everyone else is doing because you feel like that's the safest thing to do, then that's going to be keeping you lonely as a Christian because you're going to have these other values in your life that are biblical that keep you from going down the road these worldly people are going down. But again, you're not going to be finding these other Christians there. So you're just going to feel lonely because no one's going to be with you who actually loves Christ. They're going to be going the other direction. Number 3, believing and trying to mimic what you see on social media. Time is not meant to be frozen, but this is exactly what social media does. When you just take this snapshot of reality, it never can convey the truth of someone's relationship because it's taken out of context. A couple just snaps a shot or takes a 7-second video and puts it online, and then it's just not in the context of the rest of their life. So, for example, if you're watching a platform like TikTok and you see a 7-second clip of a couple dancing to a bubbly song and they're choreographed perfectly, and you think, wow, what a cute couple, you're being sold a lie because that's just not reality. Nobody's dancing around in their life. There's no theme song that's bubbly all the time. And that couple could have just been fighting for all we know, but they just turned on their smiley face and started dancing. They might be a great couple or they might be a terrible couple, but your ability to dance on TikTok is irrelevant. So social media can unknowingly create habits in your life because you're constantly viewing this content and then it just gets inside of you. As Romans 12:2 states, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Number 4, saying no all the time. When we're caught off guard, normally we just resort to our default position. And as Christians, oftentimes our default position is guard your heart when it comes to relationships. Obviously, guarding your heart is very good and biblical and wise, and we need to do that. But that counsel in Scripture doesn't mean that you just wall yourself off from everyone or that you always assume the worst of everyone without ever getting any real evidence, good or bad. So before you just cut someone off and just assume the worst and always say no to everything because you're constantly trying to protect your heart, be a little more patient and at least get some evidence before you say no. You might need to say no and say, oh, this person's not walking with Christ. But without getting to know someone or just at least exploring the possibility, you're going to always be lonely because eventually you have to say yes. And sometimes if you give someone a chance, you'll realize this is a good opportunity. Number 5, going too far in your heart when you meet someone new that you're interested in. Now we're talking about the other extreme. Sometimes people don't just say no all the time, like we talked about in the last point. Other people struggle with just constantly going too far as soon as they meet someone in their heart, meaning that they see someone they're interested in and their first thought is, this is probably the one God has for me. So they have a habit of walking into a room, seeing a pretty face, and then having this thought or this feeling, that's the one. And they even sometimes assume that was God speaking to me. God just told me that person's my future spouse. And even worse, some people will literally wait years, months, again, sometimes years to run into that person again because they're holding on to this little experience they had where they feel like God told them that that's the one. This is an unhealthy habit. Instead of daydreaming and constantly prophesying about every little interaction you have with another single person, it's much wiser just to be an adult about it and interact with them. And then you're going to find out really quick if there's any substance to this attraction and connection that you have. You just want to be mature about it and explore the possibility instead of staying in the safety of your own mind. Because really it's a defense mechanism when you really think about it. Instead of saying, I wonder if this is the one, and then you actually go try to figure it out, you just kind of play the safe road and kind of assume that it's that person's job to come and pursue you. Again, taking the safe route. This habit of assuming you know the distant future without doing any work in the present is a great way to stay lonely. As James 3:17 states, but the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, open to reason, full of mercy and good fruits, impartial and sincere. Number 6, projecting past experiences onto new people. Learning is obviously a process. As humans, we're not pre-programmed and downloaded with all kinds of information that we need to thrive in relationships. So we learn through the experiences that we go through in our past. The problem with this is that if you're not applying the scriptures to the experiences that you're having, you are most likely going to be learning lessons that aren't helpful, that will actually hinder you in new relationships because you're projecting old feelings, old issues onto new people that have nothing to do with them. If you got hurt by someone in the past or you have some sort of childhood, wound, that has nothing to do with the person that you're feeling some type of way about. Just because they're triggering something in you, or just romance in general is scary because of something that happened in the past. So you really want to stay away from those big sweeping statements that are just oversimplifications that are coming down from your past experiences. For example, all men just want sex. Obviously, a lot of men just want sex, but your past experience is now creating something that's not true. All men don't just want sex. There's plenty of Christian guys out there who are looking for a woman to honor God with. Or all women are just stressed out, anxiety ridden, and you just can't deal with their emotions. All women are just too emotional. Again, that's a personal experience that a man had in the past that he's now projecting onto new women, that he has no idea if they're overly emotional or if they have a healthy emotional relationship with their self. So, big picture here, we have to be careful we're not projecting our past experiences onto new people. That's a bad habit. Number 7, just doing what you've always done to meet people. For example, perhaps you read a Christian dating book when you were 19 and it really helped you. It basically told you, slow down, just wait on God, focus on Christ, and when the right time comes, he's going to bring a healthy relationship into your life. And, that's pretty good advice. I could critique that a little bit. But if you were 19 and you practiced that, maybe at 20, you actually got into a great relationship. And you're like, wow, that advice actually worked. The relationship didn't end in marriage, but it was a positive dating experience. So you think that's good advice. Now, you get to be around 30 or after 30, and suddenly you're not getting any more dates. And you just keep doing the same thing, and you keep saying, well, I'm just supposed to be waiting on God, putting Christ first. That's always worked for me in the past. And but now it's not working. And the reason that's probably not working is because there's a difference between a young 20-year-old and a 30-year-old. Those people in their 20s are often in places where there's just hundreds of singles. For example, college. Everyone there is unmarried. Just by osmosis of being in that community, it's very likely you end up getting a romantic connection with somebody. But when you get a little bit older, obviously people start getting married. We start getting busier with work. We have more obligations. It's just not as easy to be around a bunch of singles. So you got to just stop doing what you've always done. You have to be more thoughtful about it. You have to be more practical and say, what do I need to change practically in my life to get different results? And number 8, limiting yourself to a certain type. Now, there's nothing wrong with having preferences. It's totally natural for some people to, be more attracted to someone taller or shorter or blonde hair or brown hair or with a certain personality trait. But you want to be careful when you start getting into the extremes and you start giving yourself these limiting beliefs like, I am only attracted to extroverted guys because the shy ones just can't handle my personality. Or if you're a guy, you might say, I'm only interested in younger women because older women are just stuck in their ways. They can't change. They're already too just set in their ways. I only can date younger women. Or if you're a woman, you might say, I'm only attracted to taller guys. Or a guy might say, I'm only attracted to blonde women. Again, there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, I like extroverted guys, or hey, I'm a little more attracted to women who are younger, or I'm attracted to tall guys or blonde women. But obviously, you can see the flaw there in that brunette women are beautiful too. A man who's your height can be handsome as well. The age of a person, if they're somewhere around your age, a give or take, whether they're a few years younger or a few years older, it really doesn't matter because it's all about maturity. So when you get too hyper-focused on these little details about a certain type, this is a habit that's going to be keeping you single because you're limiting your pool of options. As Proverbs 31 verse 30 says, charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Speaking of Proverbs 31, here's a video where I go over 8 marks of a Proverbs 31 woman. I'm Mark from ApplyGodsWord.com. I hope this was helpful, and until next time, God bless.